Hey folks, in this video we're going to cover two main things. First, the wonderful architecture in a certain part of Croydon, and secondly, a murder mystery unsolved for almost 100 years. Welcome to Birdhurst Road, South Croydon. Now, Birdhurst Road and Birdhurst Rise are designated by the London Borough of Croydon as areas of special local character. And I believe that is a well-earned description, because we are going to see some quite stunning architecture on the walk today. Finest examples of Victorian splendour all around this relatively short walk. These are so photogenic, but it's very easy to pick out the character. And just one example over there. The sun hitting it beautifully today. The stucco work above the door. Lovely gables. The decoration, quite incredible. But this one is possibly one that stands out as you enter this road as a real shining example, almost a welcome to the area. This is Thurston House, number 11, Birdhurst Road. And absolutely incredible. A statement building almost. And again, we see these lovely decorative features, these beautifully tall windows, and even these wonderful pillars and walls are beautifully finished. But number 11 is really quite something. A stunner, as you may hear me say more than once on our little walk today. I like to pick these sunny days, a case of trying to dodge the harshness of the sun wherever possible. But the light does help to pick out the detail. The lovely yellow stock brick. Almost patterns in some of the lines, alternating colours and things sometimes on these houses. And we've got the side there of number 11. Of course, nowadays, and possibly for the majority of their existence now, they've been divided up. Apartments or sometimes care homes, that kind of thing. Still retain that solid beauty. Example here looks a little newer, perhaps built later, but in the same style. But much to admire. It's nice admiring nature this time of year, but there's really quite some beauty in what man has created as well. You know, the barge boards, the finishing on these properties around the window frames, and in some cases that we'll see the entranceway is very grand. Obviously there's some infill with newer buildings. Some of these may have occupied more land back in the day, and that land perhaps sold off for housing, as we still see in the current day. Number 25, next door to number 25. This is Beach Copse, and once there was number 29 Birdhurst Rise in this space. The Croydon Poisonings, also known as the Birdhurst Road murders, largely took place in the house that used to be behind me here. Now, there were 3 murders, and they were all poisoning by arsenic. The first victim was Edmund Crichton Duff, who died in February 1928. Now, Edmund actually lived not far from here in South Park Hill Road. Edmund's wife was Grace Duff, formerly Grace Sidney, and Grace's sister Vera and mother Violet lived behind me in 29 Birdhurst Road. The murders have never been solved. There have been many suspicions. It's been well documented. There have been TV shows done. There's actually a video on YouTube that was a Julian Fellowes story put together a few years ago, and I'll put the link below. But we're probably never going to know who actually carried out the murders. It was difficult to find a motive for one person close to the victims that had reason to kill all of them, but it certainly hit the headlines. Edmund had returned from a fishing trip in February. He complained of feeling unwell. He had a beer. He drank the beer, stomach cramps, vomiting, diarrhoea, and he died a few hours later. But the next poisoning didn't take place until almost a year later, and it was thought that was put in soup that was served to Vera. Vera was unmarried and she lived with her mother Violet, so likely she ingested the poison at that point. A few days later, Violet passed away. She'd been unwell for a while. She'd also had soup. She did have some suspicion that she was being poisoned, but ultimately that claimed her life. All three victims were buried at Queen's Road Cemetery in Croydon. Due to the suspicion, the bodies were actually exhumed and further analysis was carried out, and they found that there was arsenic poisoning, because it wasn't completely clear at the time. In fact, the coroners had, working with the medical experts, had come up with different reasons for cause of death. But all three had poisoning in there by person or persons unknown. It's a story that gripped many. It sort of went round the world in many ways. And we'll probably never know what happened. Grace was one of the main suspects. She moved down to Sussex shortly after the incidents took place here. So after Edmund had died, she bought a house nearer to her mother, which we'll see shortly, the one house that still exists at number 59. It's quite interesting that we've got this big story that's central to this really quite beautiful part of Croydon. You can actually see here, so house 31, and again this block of flats where 29 once was. Something that you notice when you go around is that often, well, certainly there is infill development, but you sometimes see where, say, windows have not been replaced by those of the same type. And I find that a little bit of a shame. It was actually called out by the London Borough of Croydon in their review of the area. It was originally a Birdhurst estate with a large estate house not far from here, and it was the selling up of that estate that led to the building of the houses. A lot of original features here in 43. Some quite stunning ironwork at the top of that house there. Beautiful. The decorative work there on 47, 47A, my apologies. And number 30 there stands out nicely. Another angle of 51. Quite something. So here we've got 57 and 59. 59 being the house that Grace bought. After Edmund died, there was an insurance policy cashed in. Value today around about 80, 85,000, something like that. And that was enough to enable her to move a bit nearer to her mother. So 59. And that featured in the Julian Fellowes video that I referred to. Yeah, the stucco work above the doors and the lintels, wonderful. I'm going to complete the loop by going around the corner up Birdhurst rise that way. Well, this is Birdhurst Rise. Road and rise sort of interconnect. Just a couple more to point out. 72 ahead. This is Croydon Road, and it's worth getting out on foot if you're in the area and just having a nice easy walk along the road. If you're getting the bus, maybe get the next stop down and appreciate some of the properties between the two stops. Croydon Road Baptist Church there, and this brick against this light is absolutely beautiful. Not cheap, those bricks, if you needed to purchase them today. Bit of my roads and my rises mixed up. That was Birdhurst Rise. I think I've got the right detail that I pointed out. I certainly got the right detail pointed out for where the murder house was. And it seems that everywhere we turn there's something quite beautiful to point the camera at. So if you're into the architecture and you want to see this up close, it's easy to get to. There's South Croydon Station is not far from here. Lloyd Park tram stop. In fact, I parked the car at Lloyd Park and you get 3 hours free. You don't get much for free nowadays. Yeah, very decorative stucco work there. Wonderful. Often the windows have been replaced with something more modern, which is a bit of a shame, but understandable on budget terms. The purist in me would always want the authentic sash windows replaced with something maybe more efficient. But I'm just going to go back a bit, give you an idea of the depth of the houses, how far back they go. That one on the side there gives you a good idea. More of the ironwork above the entranceway there. And Ridgeway House, opposite number 35, looks very nice. I don't know why, I want to think that's a little bit more modern. Certainly more modern next to it, those apartment blocks, but a nod perhaps to the styling of the area. I wonder what it was like back in the day, 100 years ago. The odd motor car, people getting about by foot, staff in every house. A cook perhaps as a minimum. An infill there, slightly more modern house. There are connecting pathways that go through. In fact, another one there. Let's have a little wander. I'm not sure what I'm expecting to find on this little wander, but heading towards South Park Hill Road, where Edmund Duff sadly lost his life at age 59. Essentially a school, Elmhurst School. I think that pathway goes over towards the station straight ahead. So this is South Park Hill Road. A number of functional buildings here, schools, care homes and the like. Highly substantial size building there and some modern developments. So anyway, that was that. And I will wander back. Apologies if I've got my Birdhurst roads and rises confused. That's why I would have put a little correction piece of text on the screen if that was the case. Yes, this is definitely Birdhurst Road, and it was Birdhurst Rise where the murders of Vera and Violet took place. I don't know if it's just me being an architectural romantic, but I can find beauty in these very easily. You may have your own views, but if you follow what I do, you'll probably get where I'm coming from. It isn't the first time I've mentioned it, and it certainly won't be the last. Just gaze up and have a little dream about how things may have been back in the day. And we come back to this side of number 11, where the road forks. A very large sort of piazza area here where the road branches off. It's a wide junction for what it needs to be. South Downs Court Flats, 1881. We've got it's the first time I've seen that or noticed it. An actual date there. All built around the same time. And this is modern sort of infill development. The Birdhurst estate would have been, I believe, in this general area. And honestly, if you entered here, you may draw a certain conclusion. If you continue, then you'll draw, I believe, a different and hopefully better conclusion. So Birdhurst Rise just up there, and we just literally did a loop all the way around. So there we have it. A local area of special character designated by the London Borough of Croydon in 1992. And we talked a little bit about the Croydon Poisonings, quite a famous case in the day and one that remains unsolved to this day. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you'd like to follow me and see more of my content. And if you'd like to support me for less than half the price of a frothy high street coffee, there's a lot to say, per month, please hit join, and you'll be able to join as a member, and I'd really appreciate that. So, look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.